And we are live. StreamYard says it's showtime. So good to have you here. I'm so glad we could make it. We've been planning. And I'm sure today we are going to offer everybody so much information. And I know I'm going to learn a lot, considering what I was talking to you and what you were sharing with me. I know I'm going to learn a lot. But it's almost 6, and I would not want you to tell everything before. Let's wait for people to start coming in, and then we'll start.
Well, your very high expectations are making me a bit nervous.
No, you don't have to be nervous. You're the pro. I should be nervous in front of you. You are the pro here with 20
See, it's
years
such a
experience and
vast
whatnot.
field. Yeah, it's such a vast field that there are so many things you want to tell, but there's always the paucity of time.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's true.
yeah.
We'll have a follow-up session if I'm sure we are going to have a great viewing, and we'll have a follow-up session because there'll be so many questions. I have so many questions, and the more I kind of read through and actually thought of it, the more I thought I don't know so much of it. And we think that we are very smart. We think we have all the controls. We think we are doing everything for our children, for the environment, for them. But then we realize that there's so much lacking. There's such a big question mark on so many things, and so much more to learn. And here I am, right in front of you. Not just
Archana, technology advances so fast. Okay, every day you have new innovations, new platforms, and even for people like us, unless you kind of, and it's sometimes so difficult to keep pace with it, and you have to run along with it. Actually, if I don't connect to seeing the new innovations for a week, I'm left behind because there is so much has happened. So as far as technology and especially this field is concerned, you can never know enough of it. There is always, even as speakers like us, I won't call myself an expert. For people like us also, every time you access something, you feel, oh my God, I didn't know this. So there's always so much of learning in the field of technology.
there's always so much learning, and there is always so much changing. It's forever evolving. And who would know until a couple of months back that we would all go on technology? Everything will be online. People won't be going to offices anymore. Children won't be going to schools anymore. Who would
Yeah.
have ever, if somebody would have said that, we would have laughed it off actually.
Yeah. Yeah. See, the other day I was doing a session, I was moderating a session on safe e learning practices. And then we were educators in the session, and then we got talking. And we felt that education is always traditional and doesn't move as fast as it should, because of various reasons. And education has taken such a huge leap in past 3 years, what it has not taken in past 30 years.
Yeah.
So that is actually the need on the ground. So people rose to that occasion.
That's true. I think I should start now. Let's start the session formally. It's going to be an interesting session. I don't want to make it too long, also, but I know it's going to go longer than usual. So, everybody, did you know that India has the highest rate of parents confirming instances of cyberbullying? Such cases have accelerated this year, with over 37% of parents admitting that their children have become victims at least once. And 14% of them say bullying occurred on a regular basis. And globally, 1 in 5 parents say their children have experienced cyberbullying at least once. How do we prevent this? How do we ensure the safety and privacy of kids online? Hello, everyone. You are in conversation with Archana Malhotra. In Conversation is a platform of learning and sharing about human values, growth, and global impact. We plan to bring for you achievers and change makers from different professions to share their knowledge and expertise. Today, our guest is a dynamic and visionary educationist with over 20 years' experience. She's managed edutech programs, empowering lives and minds. She's a cyber safety and wellness coach, focusing on mentoring children, youth, and seniors to use the power of internet safely and smartly to thrive in the internet era. Currently associated with Cyberpeace Foundation and Mission Fight Back as a consultant, she is collaborating with schools and colleges to amplify the message of online safety. I welcome you to In Conversation, Mrs. Nisha Dua.
Thank you. Good evening, Archana. And thank you for making me a part of your In Conversation. And hello to all our viewers. Hope you all are doing well.
And thank you. I think we should start right away, Nisha. I
Yeah,
have
because it's
lots of questions.
and I have a lot to share as well.
It's great to have you here. Let's start. It's all a virtual world now. School, extra activities, entertainment, it's all happening online. This has increased the time children spend on their devices. So, what's the optimum number of hours you think kids should spend on their devices?
Okay. Yes, Archana, internet is an integral part of our lives and has opened up lots of opportunities and possibilities of learning and growth, especially in the time of COVID-19 pandemic, when more than 3 billion people were, and many still are, locked at home, and 1.8 billion amongst them are children. Can you imagine 1.8 billion children not able to go to schools worldwide? And this figure is in India is over 500 million. So, can you imagine if you were not able to connect at all with your loved ones? Okay, internet is offering so many possibilities, and internet is actually our lifeline to connect with our outer world. And that's why I think we are sane and we are normal and we are okay. Like we kind of accepted the lockdown. So internet has been a lifesaver during this time, and yes, because of that, there has been a huge surge in the usage of internet recently. And as per the survey conducted in the month of May, there was 89% spike in the usage of social media amongst all ages. Can you imagine 89% spike social media users? Because people are not traveling to work, a lot of workplaces are not open. So best hai अपना phone खोलो, Facebook, and most of them are Facebook users. And this is all children and adults put together. Now, in order to maintain social distancing, the children have been confined to their homes. They are not allowed to indulge in activities that come so naturally to the child, playing with friends, going out with parents, going to schools, or visiting relatives or grandparents. Now, all kind of it is happening online. They are chatting with friends on the phone, playing games online, watching movies, listening to music, and most important, learning from home, as classrooms have shifted to the dining room and sitting room from the traditional classrooms. So naturally, the screen time has actually surged for the children as well. Now, the longer amount of screen time is harmful, especially for them, especially for these young kids who should actually be doing activities that involve running around and other physical exercises. Now imagine a child hunched over the electronic device for hours together with eyes fixed on the screen, totally focused, oblivious to the world around him or her. Naturally, it will give rise to many health issues, headaches, eye strain, obesity, lack of appetite, and whatnot. And not to mention the psychological issues like social isolation, loss of social skills, and other behavioral issues. Now, you had asked about the optimum screen time. As per the guidelines by WHO, the optimum screen time for children is preschoolers 3 to 5, about 1 hour a day, and definitely 8 to 10 inches away from the eyes. 6 to 10 years old, 1 to 2 hours a day, totally supervised. And 11 to 13 years old, 3 to 4 hours a day, including studies. But we know current tech time for children is absolutely much beyond that.
Almost
And
double.
almost double, absolutely. See, we cannot control the screen time to some extent because the studies are going online. But if we take adequate precautions, then the pitfalls for added screen time are not there. Okay.
And what are the precautions that you're saying, or we'll come to that later?
Precautions I'll come to later. So can I come to the dangers first? Because we were talking.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. My next question was about that. As we discussed, children are online for hours now, and as the hours you are giving, I mean, they're using almost double the hours online, and their children are very impressionable and gullible. We
Yes.
often hear of the term stranger danger, as you just mentioned. So, please elaborate on the risks associated by befriending strangers online.
Yes, Archana, the children are so gullible and trusting. Now, they might be smart users of technology because they've been born into the digital world. But we must remember that at this young, tender age, they still have to develop critical thinking skills to analyze and respond to the situations, content, or strangers in a matured manner. Now, the more time children are online, the more they are exposed to online predators who are lurking in the chat rooms, gaming sites, social media sites, waiting to lure these young and innocent victims. Yeah, it sounds scary and it is very scary. Stranger danger, as you mentioned it. These predators, they pretend to be who they are not. They put on avatar that a young child would like, and then they become their friends, winning their trust, extracting private personal information about the family, about the child, even about the financial status, where do the parents work, where do they stay. In fact, over the time, they put together profile of the entire family for what? For nefarious reasons. Now, photo sharing is another serious issue. When they ask the children to share their photos, and then the exploitation starts. They morph the photos and start blackmailing the children to perform certain inappropriate acts, which they film and sell in the pornographic market. अब बच्चा तो उनकी पकड़ में आ गया है. The child doesn't know what to do, where to go, because they also threaten and blackmail the child. Tell the child, we'll kill your parents, we'll do this, we'll put the photos online, we'll kill your younger brother, sister, because by then they have a very good understanding about the family background. Then they start sexting the children, okay, sexting messages to the children, grooming them further for inappropriate activities. Now, in the beginning, the child may not inform parents out of fear, but then the situation goes out of hand. The poor child is totally caught in the predator's web. There have been cases, sad cases, where the children have harmed themselves, killed themselves, or run away from homes. And children, there was a case in US where a child as small as 7 years old actually he kind of harmed himself totally. Okay, and by the time parents realize the extent of damage, then it is just management, it is just survival. Getting the children out of the messy situation, reporting to police, sending the child for counseling. And if a child gets into such exploitative situations, can you imagine the deep scars the child will have forever? I mean, the child will not be able to get out of this. So, unsupervised, uncontrolled device usage should not happen at home, especially with small children and tweens. Now, the teenager is different since we are talking about smaller children and tweens, so I'm concentrating on those. So, unsupervised and uncontrolled device usage, I repeat, should not happen at home. And devices, very important, devices should not be given as babysitters. Keeping the children quiet when the parents are busy. I know we are humans. I know we have, all of a sudden, even the parents have so much to do. They have their professional work, mothers have their professional and the homework and the household work. And it's a very natural thing that a child is now asking for attention. Give the tablet to the child will play games. Okay, one can do that if the device is not connected. But if the device is connected online, the parents have to supervise it. The devices should be placed so that parents can keep an eye on the screen, especially for younger children and the teens. So these are the issues, and then we will come to how we can avoid it in the subsequent conversation.
Yeah. So this is the second point is again a very, very important point that I'm about to discuss. It's alarming, as I said, to know India has over 37% cases of cyberbullying, highest worldwide. How is cyberbullying different from bullying that happens in school and playgrounds? And what can I do to protect my child?
We all know that bullying has been existing ever since. Okay, before the advent of internet, bullying mostly happened in person. Kids were bullied at bus stops, at break time, in playgrounds. But once a child got home, the bullying stopped. But now, with technology, Online bullying or cyberbullying can happen anywhere and anytime. It's really very, very scary to even think that a child can be threatened, picked on, and intimidated non-stop, even in the confines of the house. Parent may think my child is safe in the bedroom, spending time on the connected device. Okay, but the online bullies can hurt the children if at all times, day, night, irrespective of the geographical location. Now, according to research conducted by Symantec, nearly 8 out of 10 individuals are subjected to different types of cyberbullying in India. Out of these, around 63% faced online abuses and insults, and 59% were subjected to false rumors and gossips which degraded their image. Now, what is troubling is that children don't always tell us what is happening with them. Why? Why children don't tell us? Some of the reasons are I was too embarrassed. I was too scared. I thought my parents would stop my use of computers. Or my dad would complain to my teachers and then I'll probably get bullied even more. So they live getting bullied in shame and in fear. And I'll also share with you the common types of bullying which happens. So offensive name calling bullying is around 42%, where the children call each other names. So this often happens when the kids know each other between the peers. Okay, then the other is that spreading of false rumors. Okay, now that anybody, like supposing even a predator, okay, if he wants to, कहते हैं ना कि उसका जकड़ना है बच्चे को, if he wants to put more pressure on the child to share whatever the child has to share, he might start, that predator might start with, these kind of bullies so that the child gets scared. Okay, then receiving explicit images from somewhere. Let's say there is somebody who's sending inappropriate images, explicit images to the child, and the child gets scared. That's also bullying. Okay, and the physical threats online, that I'll come and kill your parents or whatever. Okay, that's also bullying. And the worst is that having explicit images, morphed images of their child put up online. That's the worst form of bullying. And that form of bullying is called revenge porn. Revenge porn is when bullies, they may be the peers or they may be those who want to blackmail you, they morph the photos and they share them online. That's absolutely the worst kind of bullies. And there was also a research which found that 42% children were bullied on Instagram, because on Instagram there are maximum number of children, 37 on Facebook and 31 on Snapchat. So all these social, definitely gaming sites, but definitely social media platforms, actually they propagate a lot of bullying. And the tweens are not allowed to go on social media. Here, I want to bring one more thing.
For this point, this is a very big point to discuss when we have our, that session on teens, because teens are majorly, tweens and early teens are still getting there. I think they're slowly getting there.
Yes, they are. And parents need to understand that actually cyberbullying is more harmful than face-to-face bullying. When someone posts a comment online about the child, that comment is permanent there. It is amplified multifold. Thousands of people can read it. And also, sometimes online bullying can be more ruthless, or people can be more brutal, because it is not a face-to-face interaction. They hide behind the screen and they write, and they're very bold to write what they are writing. So I would like to share some warning signs which parents should look out for, in the child. When the child avoids going to school, he or she doesn't want, so this means there's bullying happening in the school, does not want to go to playground, does not want to go in the bus, there's a sudden drop in the grades, and or all of a sudden the child becomes unsocial and starts avoiding certain friends or even starts avoiding the family. And another thing, the child does not want to go near the computer. The child doesn't want to use the computer. The child is scared. Okay, why? Because probably bullying is happening online on the computer. He can see it. So he's very scared to go.
Not vocal about it.
Yes, and then eating habits, physical complaints, headache, and all that, the bedwetting and all. So those are the symptoms. So parents have to look out for symptoms in this child. That it may be X, Y, it may be a lot of factors, but that bullying probably will be one of them. So how now coming to how can we keep our kids safe online? So, like I said, be alert to the above signs of the child. uh, for the tweens, the parents have to be aware, very much aware who's in the contact list of the child. Okay, with whom the child converses. Just don't leave. Like stranger danger, I think that is something everybody should carry away from this session. That it's not only meeting a stranger, it is the stranger exploiting the whole situation, bullying the child, exploiting the child, blackmailing the child, and making the life of the child miserable actually. Then bullying happens a lot on the gaming sites. And children as young as 9, 10 are also on the gaming sites. Gaming sites are hub of cyberbullying actually, because there are webcam issues, there is pornography, there is malware, there is extracting money. So all kind of bullying happens on the gaming side. We cannot totally stop children from these gaming sites, but once in between, we should see who all are other players on the gaming side. We should, and anybody can post the photo, like, a 70-year-old person can post the photo of a 12-year-old and pretend as one. Okay, which happens a lot on the internet because impersonation is so rampant on the internet. So they have to constantly keep one eye on what the child is doing in the online space. Like, for example, if my child has gone to the park, okay, these days, I'm always keeping an eye. What the child is doing. Okay, the child has not come back home, or my child has gone for tuitions. I'm worrying the child has to come back on time. A lot of parents say we give phones to the child so that we can track the geolocation of the child. But the same parents, I'm sorry to say, but sometimes they think like ostrich, and then they let the child wander into this world wide web and thinking the child is safe in front of them, but the child is wandering wherever the child should not wander. So, reporting the bullying and counseling is very needed. If bullying is happening on social media platforms, then social media platforms you can absolutely report to, and they do respond 24 to 48 hours. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all that. And bullying can also be reported on cybercrime.gov.in. That's another very big takeaway which parents should carry, that government has this site, cybercrime.gov.in.
Can you spell it out so I can write it on the comment box and everybody can take it away also?
Yeah,
Cyto?
it's a single word, cybercrime
Cybercrime.
dot
Okay.
gov, G-O-V,
.gov.
.in.
.in. Okay.
So,
For?
IN, India, IN for India.
It is for all complaints.
Yeah, it is for all complaints. And they specifically, because the girls are bullied a lot. The bullying of girls, the statistics say the girls are bullied more than the boys. And they are even bullied at home. And forget about outside. So they have a special cell for the girls where a lady can log a complaint and not even give the identity. So that's also another good thing, because sometimes what happens, that as far as the girls are concerned, parents don't want to reveal the identity of the girl for we know what reasons. So even without revealing their identity, they can share that, they can report it. But what you need is a proof. So when a child is getting bullied, so you need those screenshots. Those are very, very important because they are the actual proof of the whole thing. So screenshots should be stored very carefully. And then the complaints can be made on social media sites, or if the bullying it's a level up, then it can be on the cybercrime.gov.in sites. And bullying can happen anywhere. Bullying can be by anyone. Bullying can happen in the physical space. Bullying definitely happens in the online space. Now there are other form of harassments as well, which actually impact the child, which is cyber stalking, impersonation, trolling. Now, these are few of other things. There are many, but these are most common, and they can also impact the life and mind of child. They are different forms of bullying. Okay, so any other question on bullying? I'll be ready to take from the audience later.
Yeah, we'll take it later. Mr. Nagendra Singh is saying it's a very informative session. Manpreet Arora is saying nice choice of topic. Payal, Vanita, Mona, they all say hi. And Mona even has a question, which I'm going to ask you later. But we'll come to questions. Uh,
Very much. Yeah.
for our audience, please type in your queries. I'm going to come to the questions later. And if you're finding today's talk useful, please do give us a thumbs up. I want to add on here, Nisha, and my friends who are in the audience, that roles and responsibilities of parents have changed in the digital age. Parents, as well as the kids of all age groups, are
Yeah.
immersed and surrounded by so much technology around them. And it's really important for us as parents to establish connection. If there is one thing that is most important in your relationship with your child, it is to connect, connect, connect. Use positive emotions, engage in eye contact. Please give them your time, not just things money can buy. Listen attentively to what your child is saying. Children feel loved and more confident if they are heard.
Yeah.
And you feel it's some important information, as Nisha said, listen to the children with complete attention, not while you're on the phone or TV or doing something else. They understand and they will only share as much if you are not listening to them. And gather information, delay correction, create an atmosphere of comfort so that they are willing to share. Make your instructions short. Right, Nisha?
Absolutely. I mean, you said it. In fact, whatever I was going to say later, you have said it so beautifully. And connect, 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 understand your children is very, very important. And when you said that listen to your children, don't be on your phone, let me tell you, children pick up a lot from the parents. In fact, they pick up most of the things from the parents. Parents are their role models. Now, how can I, tell my child that you have to restrict your device, or you're not supposed to use phone during the meal time or whatever, when I'm actually on the phone? Okay, for a child, that call from a friend is as important as the father or the mother may say, my boss called me. So for the child, that friend is also as important. So be good role models. Well, coming to parenting, being a
So I,
parent.
I want to ask here, Nisha.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, how can, on the other hand, what is more important is how can parents have some amount of control over the internet usage of their child, like screen time, sites not to be visited, and information not to be shared? Because this is also very important. Kids want to get away with everything. This is, I'm talking about the other side.
Yes, absolutely. That is something which we need to discuss. Before that, if I talk of the generation gap, that which technologies have brought about, I think that will be more contextual. So, parenting, as you said, being a parent myself, okay, parenting has never been easy. Parenting is always such a tough job, and in the digital world, it's become more challenging. And now, what happens because of COVID? Parenting has got absolutely tougher. Entire families have been home for months together, working, studying, managing household tasks. Actually, life is not easy at all, because the parents have to don so many hats and so many roles for their, and be available 24 by 7 for the children. And another issue regarding parenting in this digital world is that children are mostly ahead of their parents in tech use, while the parents are internet migrants. Okay, I won't. Earlier we used to use the word digital migrants, but now parents are also, young parents have been born in the digital age, but not in the internet age. So parents are digital migrants, and the children are digital natives. Meaning, children were born when internet already existed, and parents have to learn to use it. A lot of times we learn to use technology from a little ones. So what has happened? The generation gap has widened. So it's the parents who will have to exert themselves in actually understanding this digital world, so that they can walk alongside with their children and also guide and mentor them. Again, I'll repeat, kids may be tech savvy, but they're not so mature and do not have the critical understanding of dealing with the situations in the online world. So, very consciously, and not becoming hovering helicopter parents, they need to supervise and monitor their child's online activities, and especially for the younger children like teens and tweens. It's very, very important. So, Archana, going to parental controls, I think your question was about the parental control,
Yeah.
how the parents can actually manage the screen time and all of
Screen
it.
time, yeah. And the sites which are not, not to be visited by kids, the information which they do not need to actually look at.
Hmm, 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 hmm. No, it's a very important question. Uh, Here, I'll come to a simple analogy. In fact, I am sorry that I'm not able to share my slides, because I had put those infographics which I thought would convey the thoughts very clearly. But I hope I am able to convey everything I say over the audio as well. So, see, when we give a new cycle to a child, so what as parent do we do? We'll run after the child. We'll help the child balance the cycle. 1 day, 2 day, 3 days. We will not let go of the child till such time the child has learned how to balance on the cycle. And at the same time, we will teach them the rules. Okay, we will teach them the safety rules, the traffic rules, and we will not let them out of the sight till such time we are 100%, as parents, we are 100% sure that they will be safe. Similarly, when the children are given access to internet for the first time, it may be at whatever age. Okay, the parents need to sit with them, guide them, explain the positives, the negatives, the do's, the don'ts, which side to navigate, what to avoid, and why such sites are to be avoided. Also, because children are smart. If you tell them don't do this, their curiosity is piqued and they will definitely want to do that thing. But if a lot of time we actually deal with the kids as though they don't understand so much of what we say. But the children are very smart. If we sit with them, if we logically explain to them that, see, you are this much old, you don't have access to these sites, and when you cross that age, then you will have access for XYZ reasons. The children do understand. So that is one thing, having, like you said, Archana, that connecting, talking, communicating with the children, it is so, so important. So that is one part of it. But then what happens? Children are curious by nature, or they may be prompted by their peers. So what happens when they are, let's say a child is on the virtual learning platform, or the child is gaming in a safer, slightly, more safer environment with the parents have picked out, they might inadvertently navigate to some other sites, or they might click on some ads or some pop-ups, and then they are directed to some inappropriate sites. It may also be that on the same device the parents have been shopping, okay, or the parents have been browsing. So what happens? That data is stored, so the similar kind of ads keep on popping up. So the child has access to those kind of pop-ups. So what do you do? That first we have to teach the child not to, but sometimes the child doesn't have to click. These pop-ups are smart, even mouse over will activate them. So, in order to filter inappropriate language and words, you parents can install some filtering apps, filtering softwares. Okay, and before downloading the softwares, they should go to either the on the Google Store or on the Play Store of Apple. They have to look at how many users. They have to look for what is the review like. If the review is 4.5 or 4.2 or 4.3, this means people are actually liking it and there are a lot of users, so it's comparatively safer. So there are a lot of these filtering apps like NetNanny, Questodio, Sky, Bark. Bark is mostly for social media. So what happens that when these are installed, then certain words, like for example, if you don't want your children to visit the sex sites or any word, so you can actually you can actually type those words, and these are the words I want blocked. So any site, any picture containing these words, because picture also have all text containing these words, the kids cannot download them. So these are the filtering apps. Okay, the other way of keeping safe is, why should a child go on Google? I mean, Google has so much of information and data. My child doesn't need to be there. Okay, I don't leave my child on the crossroad and tell the child to find the way home. I am so protective of the child in the physical world. then similar type of, I'm not saying paranoia, but then you have to think, what will I do in the face to face, in the real world, which I'm not doing in the online world. Okay, so there are child safe browsers, which don't I mean, which have very strict download policies. Okay, so these are KidRex, Mobicop, Kids Explorer, Kiddle. So these kind of browsers are very good for children till 11 or 12 years. And a lot of these browsers are also visual. I mean, if the child doesn't want to type anything, I mean, the pictures are there, you can pick up from the pictures, and they're actually very, very interesting. So on the device the child is using, okay, then these kind of browsers can be installed instead of Safaris or Googles or Bing or whatever. Okay, and the other thing is that if that's like some parents say that, but the child won't get enough information on these sites for the studies. Let's say 11-year-old. So only for that reason, sit with the child, okay, on the because device can be partitioned on the other partition, which is the adult partition or the child partition, or a different device. Okay, and then you can sit and Google that particular information for the project or for assignment or for whatever to be done. Another thing, one of the other dangerous site is YouTube. Now, YouTube is a mine full of information. You get all kind of videos, and we know any kind of video is available. So there is a YouTube for children. So allow the kid to access YouTube for children on those devices, which are easily downloadable on those kiddie browsers. They align very well with them. So the child can go YouTube for kids, where there are again very strong security policies, and then you won't have inappropriate content over there. So that YouTube for kids is another thing. So these are some parental controls which the parents can actually put on the devices with the kids use. Besides that, antivirus is very important. Okay, because sometimes the kids do, even these sites may have some some virus, the apps may contain some malicious virus. So make sure that the updated antivirus is downloaded. And the other thing, the software should be original, and because if you have original software, you will also have the latest security patches. So that makes the machine even more secure for the kids to use. So these are two things. And the last thing I want to come to is apps installation. The children should not be allowed to install any apps, because the child cannot actually see whether, the child cannot see the reviews, the child cannot see what information the app is asking. The child cannot judge it. Okay, the photo looks interesting. My friend suggested it to me. So the child wants to download the apps. But then make sure that you tell your children you cannot download any apps, or in fact, block the downloading of the apps on those machines. So these are a few technical things which the parents can do to make sure that the younger children and teens do not accidentally also access inappropriate content from the internet.
So at this note, I want to share with everybody, other moms and dads. A couple of days back, my 11-year-old daughter Avni told me about this site which said, "Do not take this survey home alone." It prompts you by increasing curiosity, not just for kids, for everyone. She opened it, and then it's like a game which asks you to look around the room, basically to distract you, and your files begin to get downloaded from the computer. Fortunately, she stopped it, and there was nothing on the computer except her own schoolwork. So, what do we do in this case? I mean, how do we ensure the privacy? Because, for all that, it could be my computer with lots of passwords and other information. What do we do in such a case, Nisha? There are lots of apps like these as well.
Yeah, but then, like I said, that why should your child use your computer, which doesn't have the security mechanisms, without any supervision? Avni is 11 years.
Yeah.
So you should not be allowed to. See, we all learn.
That's true.
So next time, don't, anybody whose children are less than 13 should not be allowed to use the adult's computer unsupervised. Otherwise, partition the disk. And in that partition, the child can do whatever he or she wants with the parental control and the browsers, like I said, the kiddie browsers and YouTube. So then, I understand parents cannot always hover around the kids because they also have their work to do. So make the environment safe for the kids so that you're not always so watchful, which you can't be 24/7. So,
Yeah.
like we make the home environment, I always come to the real life things. When we are going out of the house and the kids are alone, I mean, Archana, you would know that how many precautions and how many like instructions, and the kids say, "Mama, enough." Because you're worried that you're leaving the kids. वो gas off कर देना, वो refrigerator नहीं खोलना, don't switch on the geyser, don't open the window, don't open the door to the stranger. Don't you take? You take all these precautions. Okay.
True.
Then if we take in the real life, and let's take these kind of precautions in the online world also for our children. Let's not have an approach where what I can't see is absolutely fine. There is no issue there. So let's keep our eyes open as parents.
True. I agree. So, well, on the role of parents, I want to add on that, to make them smart, resilient, and responsible online users, we again need to play an important role because children are innocent, they are protected, and they're used to trusting their environment. They need repeated training and mental alertness to be aware of stalkers and strangers, as Nisha said. And awareness to hacking is also something they learn from practice and experience. So encourage your child to think proactively about solutions. We can only make them aware to a certain extent, and they have to go out to the big, sometimes bad world. So avoid criticism and blame if something goes wrong. Rather, appreciate the child and keep the communication open to more sharing. And once when they're sharing, I would really request you parents, once they're sharing, please listen to them, let them speak, and only then you start speaking. Observe their style, as Nisha said. Notice the difference in changes in behavior. If there is, pick up on that, try and discuss that in a friendly manner, and they will be comfortable sharing mistakes. So for our audience, again, we are going to address your questions now, but do
Can
forward
I
it to
put the
Santi.
last one, Archana? Archana,
Yeah,
can I
and
put the last one? Uh,
yes.
because
I'm
this
coming to
one,
that. I'm coming to that.
uh,
My last question here before I go to the audience. We are actually running short on time. We should be quickly now. Mike, the last question is that how can I report issues like bullying, stalking, mental harassment, and stranger danger, and where, Nisha?
see, first of all, I think as parents, we must be aware of various cybercrimes and what can be reported and what not. So read up on cybercrime on the same site cybercrime.gov.in. Okay, and there are three kinds of reporting: social reporting, platform reporting, and legal formal reporting. Now, in the social reporting, if a child tells the parents about being bullied, or the teacher or the elder brother or sister or the school counselor, that is social reporting. Okay, and then as parents, if we seek help of other organizations which can counsel up the child and also counsel the bully if the bully happens to be known or from the same school. So that's a social reporting. The second is platform reporting. Like I said, that the social media platforms and Google, etc., they're very cognizant of the fact that, I mean, they definitely want safety for the users because their reputation also gets impacted. And my experience with these Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter is, though the teens are probably not using those, but still let me share that they do revert maximum 48 hours. And depending on the seriousness of the case, their response time, because they categorize the cases. So that is platform reporting. But again, if you're reporting bullying, then you have to take the screenshot and then you have to send it to them. Then what they will do is they will probably deactivate the account of the bully. Right? Then there is legal and formal reporting. You can go to a a cybercrime police station. You can file online on cybercrime.gov.in. now the situation has changed. I'm actually supporting Cyber Peace Foundation. So we are also training the law agencies, we are training the police people on how to actually handle these cases more sensitively. So you will find a lot of change on the other side as well. And NCPCR has their own website. So there are cyber safety cells. There are Childline. Childline has the helpline. It has an e-box where you can physically, they have a box
Uh,
where you can
I would
physically
like to
show.
interrupt here, and I would request the audience to please note down these so that it comes in handy whenever they require, if at all they require. Please, Disha.
And social reporting, social counseling is also done at NIMHANS and organizations like ASRA and all that. So parents have to be aware of where to report, what is legal, what is illegal, and what comes under what categories. There are different articles to it. So that was reporting. So I would like to kind of the last two very quick things, like we, how should we sensitize child to be safe online? When we are teaching traffic rules to the child, we tell them that if the signal is red, you have to stop. And then when it is yellow, you have to still look around, reflect that, okay, I'm going to be ready to go. And if it is green, I'm going to go, whether you're driving or crossing the road on foot or whatever. Adopt that analogy in your online life. Okay. So anything a child is going to post or child is going to download or connect with a stranger, so that red signal must come on the mind. Stop. Who is it? Why am I doing it? Okay. Is it going to be hurtful? Is it going to harm me? Is it going to harm somebody else? Is it going to harm my siblings? Then think about it. Do I really need to do it? Do I really? If it's a stranger, I have so many friends. Why do I need a stranger to be my friend? I don't think. The child reflects. Or I was angry with my friend and I was going to post it on social media or someplace, but I don't think I will, because it's not the right thing to do. It's not the ethical thing to do. So that is the yellow part, the reflection part, the thinking part. But if the child has thought about it, then the green part comes. Then the child should be allowed to post. So we have to kind of empower the kids, not controlling the kids, sensitize the kids, and empower the kids. And children are very fond of their icon Spider-Man. So have a poster in children's room about the Spider-Man. Again, I am not able to share this slide. So there is a Spider-Man, and the motto of the Spider-Man is, with great power comes great responsibility. So if you put that poster where the child can see it every time, and the child's Spider-Man is his hero, superhero. Okay. So this does have impact on the children. So this was one example that internet gives us great power. We tell the children, internet has given you power to connect with people. Okay, especially in the COVID-19, you can't go to your friend's house, but you still can talk to him. You can't go out and play, but you're still playing cricket online or car racing online. Okay, you're still doing studies online. Okay, so internet has given you this much power. So this, with great power, is the great responsibility also. So we have to use this power very, very responsibly. So we have to sensitize the children very, very positively in a very enabling manner, so that their actions are very mindful and enabling in the cyberspace.
Let's quickly move to the audience questions. We are running out of time. Mona Kotwal says, Facebook wants the customer to identify oneself. How safe is that to give the identification?
See, it's not linked to Aadhaar card, so that's fine. So identify yourself is it's not asking your birth certificate. It's asking for your photo. Actually, identification kuch hota hi nahi hai Facebook mein. You send in your photo, you give your date of birth. Anybody can send anybody's photo. Anybody can give any date of birth. So it's absolutely fine. Facebook will not. I mean, I won't say will not. There've been cases. So you have to do it at your own risk also.
Okay, Gulraj Shapuri is saying very relevant. Thanks for making this happen. Kamani Chauhan says, nowadays kids are making more virtual friends than in real life. They feel online friends are better because they understand them better. They feel they can share everything online. So how can we teach them to stay in real life rather than virtual life? Very important question.
Yes, it's a very important question. We have to counsel the children, and because online friends a lot of times are not what they are. Okay, they say that they might be a monkey behind the screen, and he may be wearing any hero's mask. So tell them that online friends are not real friends. Okay, it's your real friends who will help you, or who will come to you when in need. And why do children need online friends? We tell the kids, you've got 30, 40 children in your class. Okay, forget other sections. You've got 30, 40 children in your class. You go to tuitions. If you go to tuitions, you've got your tuition friends. You've got your friends in the playground. You've got your cousins to play with. Why do you need extra friends? So maybe in this case, the child needs to be watched over. The child needs to be counseled a little. Maybe the child is not getting along with the other buddies in face-to-face manner. So that probably needs to be resolved, because why is the child turning online? Maybe there are some issues that's it.
So Mr. A.S. Nagpal is asking, why do people uh, do bullying? What do they gain except hurting children? Are these guys sadists?
Well, it takes all sorts to make the world. And
Yeah.
bullying has been there ever since. Yes, you could put them in that category. Yes. Sometimes what happens, temper, people can't control their temper. So when in temper, they will hit each other, or they will shout whatever. I mean, they will use whatever language for each other. So in a face-to-face, ladai ho gayi, and the matter ends there. But online, this is taken to a different level.
There's no stopping you.
Yes, and it gets amplified. It is permanent. It rebounds back to you. So, like I said, it takes all to make the world. And I wish there were no bullies in the world. It would be such a beautiful place to stay.
Ruchika is saying very informative session. Thank you, Ruchika. Mukti is also saying very relevant and informative. Thank you, Mukti. Uh, Mona is also saying very important, but we often forget to listen. Geeta Trehan, she's also saying thank you. I'm glad it's been a long session, but I'm glad it's proving useful for everybody. Nanda Chauhan is saying, please give your expert advice on for parenting in this digital age. We've already touched upon that, Nanda. Karan Nanda is saying very informative. Thank you, Karan. Priyanka is asking a question, and she's asking, what would be your thoughts on the pictures and videos being put up by schools on their Facebook pages while kids performing scholastic and co-scholastic activities? For the school, it's simply mileage, but isn't it exposing the kids, since their school name and classes are given out as well? So, are there any rules for it?
Yes, definitely. Actually, we are coming up with the data protection bill. It has been tabled in the parliament in India, and that takes care of all these things. In fact, we would have had this bill into an act had this COVID not happened. And even otherwise, the schools have to take consent of the parents. In this case, the school might have taken consent during the admission time or during the session beginning time. And a lot of times we kind of sign and we don't realize what we are signing. So the schools have to take consent, and after taking consent, if they upload, that's absolutely fine. But if it is uploaded without your consent, then you can definitely question the school.
Geeta is saying, if there's one piece of advice that you were to give to parents and one to the kids, what would that be?
I would repeat what Archana said, that be friends with each other, listen to each other, connect more, and share more.
Swati, thank you. She says it's very informative. Isha says, so important to know all this about as technology is here to stay. We have to educate ourselves. And she says we need to learn to use this without creating a hype about it. And so the children slowly take all this as part to lift and not something which makes a parent very hyper and nervous. So what do you say?
Actually, it's not the kids who make a hype about it. See, like I said, that children are digital and internet natives. So they were born with internet. Like we were born with telephone, we were born with television. So we kind of take these for granted. Okay, children take it for granted that this is a part of their life. They don't have any discussion, the distinction between the real and the online life. They don't. It's the parents who, because this is an adopted thing for them. Parents are migrants. So for migrant, they have to move from the non-technology or the non-internet world. So that's always an add-on for them and not integrated in their world. So hype is never created by the kids. Kids are matter of fact about it. That's why they learn so much. It is us, the parents, the elders, who have to accept it like that.
So Vatsala Arora says, with so many hours of school classes and assignments online, coupled with children wanting extra time for video calls with friends online these days, plus online games, parents tend to become monsters for stipulating a defined schedule sometimes. That is so true, Vatsala. There are unusual times for them and us. How can we not always be a tyrant? I think I can answer that. Parents need to be together on the same page, and
Yeah.
they need to have rules and regulations so that children can follow. And Nisha, please.
No, parents have to be good role models, and I agree with Vatsala. That is what is happening. In fact, what happened that online learning, because the government and the school said that the doors of learning have to be open. Learning can never stop, which is a beautiful thought. So that's why everybody moved on to the bandwagon of e-learning. We must remember these teachers or the schools. These teachers were traditional teachers who have moved on to e-learning. But now, yesterday, a day before yesterday, I was having a chat with these teachers, and they said that there is a lot of learning in the last 2 months, and now they are going to actually space out the classes so that there will be a theory session, then there will be a mindfulness session. So they're going to kind of space out so that kids are not glued onto the screen all the time. And also, there's not so many devices at home. There's a laptop, and the parent also needs that laptop, and there's an extra device which both the kids have to use. So keeping all those things in mind, schools are actually coming up with now innovative
I,
ideas.
I can say, Nisha, that's already happening. Shriram, my daughter's school has opened. They have phased out the classes. Children have a lot of free time in between, and now that focus, that pressure on the eyes is not as much. And only this week has already passed, and there is a humongous difference between what it was before the holidays and what it is now. So
Yes,
I think
absolutely.
schools are doing it, and we are all adapting. I think it's
We're
all
all
about
adapting.
evolving, adapting.
Say huge compliments to the schools for rising to the occasion, for making sure that the learning is not disturbed. Okay, and they are also learning along with all of us. So now during the vacations, they've had their reflection time and they are changing their processes.
So Manjula is asking, how about the sitting posture? I think that is something we as parents need to be careful about. There are a couple of more questions, but I think we are really running out of time till about next time. And a big thank you, Nisha, for coming here, giving us your precious time. And we look forward to having more questions and with you back with us soon for parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, more questions from parents of teenagers now. For
Yeah, yeah.
everybody, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, absolutely my pleasure. And I look forward to more questions because the more questions are asked, I'm also forced to go back and check and increase my knowledge. And being a
Mm,
parent, I understand what are the issues which are on the ground. And being an
I
educator,
can
I also understand it from the school's perspective. So it was absolutely my pleasure to be here, Archana. Thank you for having me.
I can assure you it was a very, very informative and educative session for all of us. Thank you so much. For everybody else, next Friday, 6 p.m., we shall be in conversation with Mr. Atul Vasan, a former Indian cricketer who is now a cricket commentator, hosting many cricket shows across renowned sports channels. We shall discuss cricket in India then and now. Thank you, everybody, for sparing your precious time. And please give us your comments and likes on the YouTube channel as well as Facebook Live. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching In Conversation.